Hi, my name is Bruno and I'm a technical educator at the Web3 Foundation, and today I'm going to answer one of the most frequently asked questions we get, and that's how do I do smart contracts on Kusama or Polkadot? It should be noted that Kusama, being the canary network cousin of Polkadot, which isn't afraid of risks and likes to move fast and break things, shares almost the same source code, which means that anything that eventually comes to Polkadot will first be on Kusama. So my answer will apply equally to both of them. So how do you do smart contracts on Kusama or Polkadot? Well, it should be noted that the relay chain, and that's the main chain that coordinates all of the other parachains, the parallel chains connecting to the network, does not have any native smart contract functionality, and that's because of the ethos of Polkadot, which is that every chain, including the main relay chain, should be as light and application specific as possible. And the application of the relay chain is, after all, seamless coordination of other chains. It really can't have other stuff interfering with that, and smart contracts, being the popular primitive that they are, would interfere with performance quite a bit. So how do you use smart contracts in Polkadot if they're not natively integrated? Well, you use them through one of the supporting chains, through one of the parachains that will connect to this ecosystem. So the way that a parachain can get access to smart contract functionality is through two different palettes. One palette is the contracts palette, and that one will let you have access to a programming language called ink. Ink is a domain-specific language derived from Rust, which will allow you to write secure and stable smart contracts for your parachain. The Rust tooling ecosystem is maturing, and the language itself has changed quite a bit over the past year, but it is now in a stable state where it can really be used to write some amazing smart contracts. The other approach that a chain can take is to integrate another palette called the EVM palette. The EVM palette contains the Ethereum virtual machine, which essentially allows a substrate-based chain to replicate Ethereum's set of instructions in its runtime. That means that any code that you may have written on Ethereum will automatically become compatible with the chain that is implementing the EVM palette. And in theory, your code should be directly portable with minimal modifications. So are there any chains like that in production that you can test already? Yes and no. There is Edgeware, which is the oldest option at your disposal, and Edgeware launched a few months back. They are in mainnet now, and they implement the contracts palette, so you would be using ink to write smart contracts on that one. Edgeware intends to become a parachain on Polkadot eventually, so you can rest assured that anything that you deploy on Edgeware will eventually become part of the larger Polkadot ecosystem once Edgeware joins Polkadot as a parachain. The other option was just recently announced, and that's Moonbeam Network. Moonbeam implements the EVM palette, which means it will become compatible with Ethereum code, and Moonbeam isn't in production yet or even in testnet, but they do intend to launch a standalone testnet in Q2 of 2020, so any day now. Their second milestone will be launching a canary version of Moonbeam on Kusama. So it will be a Kusama parachain, but it will be fully functional and as good as production. So this will be the first real in-production EVM-based parachain in the Kusama and Polkadot ecosystem. The final stage of their deployment will be a parachain on the Polkadot network, so a mainnet deployment, and that's not scheduled to happen until Polkadot will have parachains and auctions and so on, which is still a ways off. So what can you do today instead of waiting for these chains to become accessible to you? Well, you can actually use either of these palettes that I mentioned yourself in your own chain, in your own development chain on your own machine. All you need to do is download and install the EVM palette or the contracts palette into your substrate node template, which you can grab from the repository, and you will instantly have the same functionality available to you that the aforementioned networks will have when they're in production. Only you will be able to run this logic locally and practice on it and basically get ready for the mainnet production of either of these networks or maybe some others that will pop up in the meanwhile. I encourage you to play around with these palettes and try them out. Try out the different flavors of smart contracts, see what works, see what doesn't, see where you get stuck, and see what's too complicated or not documented enough. Tell us about it and we'll make sure we improve the process. If you would like to get started as soon as possible, please visit substrate.dev in your browser and you will find a plethora of tutorials navigating you through the process of implementing smart contracts in your own local development chain. We're also constantly working on new documentation and examples that you can use to explore further, so stay tuned for that. Thank you for your attention and I'll see you in the next video.